Hey everyone, welcome to our newest review session with our amazing filmmaker Eduardo Organista, who was on set for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Mac and Anabelle are back with us again this week. We're gonna start with episode 4. Quite a obvious filler episode, but I'm not gonna start. I'm gonna let y'all be like, okay, I loved it and it was great, and then I'll have a debate with y'all. Mac, go ahead.
Well, first and foremost, I want to say it was not a filler episode. So we're done with that already. Second of all, Eddie, because I'm a game designer and because I look for these small little patterns in CGI and computer generated things, I pick up easily when I see small discrepancies from what the real world is. Obviously, these worlds that we create don't need to be real world. They need to be a fantasy. That's what people come to see. But I did notice, if you will allow me to share, I think I picked up where the form was. I think I finally saw it because I think I was looking at stacked characters. I'll show you what I mean.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
So here we are. Yeet. Crack this bad boy open a little bit. So right about here, actually. Right here when he's like, this is her doing. I noticed these guys right here. First of all, this is cool. This is very exciting because you don't know this because you showed me this. You told me about this. So notice these stormtroopers here in the front are very well lit. I get that. But I also noticed that some of these lighting differences are different. Now, yeah, there are different grades. I get that. But I look at these guys in the very back and like they're literally walking into a wall. Like this is like clearly like these are actors who've been stacked on top of each other on a screen and like it's playing all at once. Maybe I'm wrong, but is this an example of the form, how they are putting all these elements in one local area?
Yeah, so the stormtroopers all the way in the back, those are all digital stormtroopers.
Okay.
In camera digital stormtroopers. So that's all behind there. There's the volume walls. That's also a volume wall right there. So all of that is CGI as well, or the content that we put on the wall. I don't know how much I can say considering I know there's going to be BTS on this, but I don't think it hurts to, after the fact, kind of just give a little bit of a snippet.
Yeah.
But yeah, those stormtroopers in the back are pretty much content. When I say content, meaning they're not live action folks.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these are all extras, Joe, kind of more in the foreground. All of these officers and stuff,
Yeah.
they're more of these extras. So yeah, but you know what? Though it's hard to find the barrier for the naked eye. Kind of hard to figure out where the wall ends and where it begins. So
it's honestly because you've given us enough information throughout these interviews, the way that I've pieced together. I'm like, okay, what am I looking for? Where are these discrepancies at?
Sure.
And that was the only time I've really even would have been like, oh, clearly here it is. Now I think some shots are a little more obvious, like we'll get to episode 5 in a little bit, but that's a clear one, him in the hangar, but we'll get there. Just because it's like a circle, so it's like the form is literally a circle. So I was like, okay, for sure. The movie magic stops being magic once you understand how it works, but doesn't make it any less important. I don't think. I think magic is still interesting even if you know how it works.
I enjoy it just as much anyway. I mean, yeah. I'm able to detach.
Yeah. Sick. Okay, that was my one shop talk question I just wanted to bring up. I saw it and I was like, wait a minute, what is this? Rewind. I was like peeking things in. I was like, are these real people? These might not be real people. These are real people.
Yeah, it's fun to try to pick it out.
Yeah, it was very cool. This is literally you showed us this. So like this is a lesson learned. So you should feel if you've ever worried about your explanation of things, someone picked up on it. And
I appreciate that.
So as for that though, episode 4 was nuts. I'm always scared for Leia, but I was especially scared for Leia because we know that Reva has no poops to give and will kill you. So I was expecting the danger, and it was not. I was not left out. All the Jedi who are in their amber chrysalists, I didn't like that. That was sad news. Everyone was sad watching that. If you didn't cry, you're a monster.
I'll go ahead.
I really liked this episode too. I would agree a little bit more that I think it was a filler in some senses, just because we kind of not too much progress was made. But I thought this was a really pretty episode. I loved the location of their headquarters situation, and being on the water, it made for there were so many cool shots and stuff. So I really liked it. There were a couple of moments when Obi-Wan was, sneaking through different parts, and I was like, I feel like there's a better way for you to do that. Or, when he killed that first stormtrooper, I was like, why don't you put that on? Why don't you put the stormtrooper costume on? Then you could walk wherever you wanted. But I enjoyed it still, and I really like Leia, and so I kind of liked that she had this moment of independence.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get a little against the grain here and say this was probably one of the weaker episodes that I've seen from the entire series. There's just way too many conveniences that happen. Like that was just too convenient for me. I'm just like, and my writer brain kind of clicks on when I get tuned out. I'm just like, okay, there's a better way to do this. I think, and just like the hallway scene, there's so many stormtroopers shooting.
There's so
and
many.
not one of them. I mean, they are really owning up to like they miss all the time, but it just kind of doesn't give you the tension that you want. And then there's like these weird plot holes, like the fortress might have come down all because of the crack that happened with the water.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so this is the magnificent fortress that's gonna get flooded, and you're literally built partially underwater. Like it was just this weird like use of exposition and weird use of just, for lack of a better word, like a little bit like nonsensical, things that were going on in that regard. And I was just really disappointed because there's so many things that I just felt were like, oh, come on, guys, like come on. But yeah, I feel like too much of that episode plot was a little too convenient for me. That's not to say I didn't enjoy it, but I was just like, you're gonna have that many stormtroopers shoot like in a small hallway and not one of them is gonna hit. Like it just doesn't give me any tension or any worry that Leia is in real danger or traumatized in any capacity. And the fact that he used a trench coat over Leia, like nobody's gonna
That was
notice.
ridiculous when they
Like,
walked out. I was
sure.
So
like,
silly.
Sure, yeah, okay, yeah, no,
yeah, I don't see
nobody
anything.
notices. And here's the thing, I saw that on set, and I was like, oh, maybe there's gonna be like some weird effect that they're gonna use or whatever. But there wasn't, and I was.
And they really showed it all too. They took a wide shot for that and showed head to foot him just covering him. Like I don't know.
Like I love the sequence. It's just I feel like there was probably a better way to sneak Leia out. Like I just felt like, and this is kind of the problem that I had with the fact that there was no real writer's room. So there's really only one or two talking heads in the writing that they bouncing off of, and they don't get like those details, that maybe a junior writer might be like, hey, but like that doesn't make sense, and unless they come back with, well, this is Star Wars, and like then then you have no argument, I guess. But
always.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just little things like that. It's just like I wish Star Wars didn't have to be like
Campy.
Yeah, like that goofy in a sense of like lazy like plot writing.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. I did love that scene where they do see all the dead Jedi, because it kind of brings that Order 66 back to life. I was like, oh crap, like they're literally trophies. Like it's a tomb, but it's like they're trophies. It's like a trophy tomb or whatever. And so that part I was like, oh snap. And then you see obviously one of the characters from Clone Wars, I believe, one of the
Master Sinube.
Yeah, yes, thank you. And so I was like, oh snap, okay, they did that, all right. But just overall, I think this was probably the weakest episode. It just felt too convenient for me. Leia's rescue felt way too convenient.
I do.
Please.
I'll just have my take, and then I do agree that the episode I wasn't into it. If you look at it as overall, the flow of it wasn't smooth. It felt like they were just trying to have an episode because they want to make 6 episodes. So I also feel that the scenes were just randomly put together. I didn't feel like it was too smooth. I didn't feel there was a progress. I would say maybe they ran out of time, maybe they didn't know which scene to put, but I do know for a fact that this episode was only here because they wanted to make 6 episodes. I didn't like how it went. Like even some of the scenes, I wasn't buying them. Like at the beginning when he's trying to convince the guy to help him, I think it was Wade.
Oh,
It was the
I forgot
other
his
guy.
name.
Yeah.
broken.
Roken, yeah, he
Yeah,
was convincing
you
him.
agreed too quickly.
Yeah, he was like,
quickly,
no,
but-
no, no, no. And then, sure.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, that was too fast for you to agree to come help him. So, and the problem is that it was early on in the episode. So when it happened, I completely like lost interest in what I was happening. I was like, okay, they're just doing it as a filler.
Oh
I
no.
wasn't buying everything that was happening. So on. Even when the tailor was trying to infiltrate and he asks her for ID and all of that. I wasn't buying that scene either because I felt he was being too aggressive, and there was a sudden jump of him being too okay, sorry, madam, all of that. Like I also didn't buy this part of the writing. I do agree the writing was too. We're gonna talk about episode 5 in a bit, but I didn't feel it was a smooth transition, and it just didn't work for me. Mike, go ahead.
I was reading I'm reading this book by John Truby called The Anatomy of a Story.
yeah,
And he
great
talks about fantastic book.
Great
It's my
book.
second time reading it. This is the prophet right here.
Yeah.
They were talking about how stories shouldn't necessarily be episodic because it makes you as the writer break your story up. Instead of it being a cohesive moving thing, it has to be broken up into sections. So like writing for a screenplay, like writing for film, you expect a 3-act structure. Writing for episodes, it's episodic. So I mean that could very well be exactly what this is. Like you said, there's not a lot of people in the writer's box. Like I imagine there's not in a Star Wars film. They probably have like a very select few people keeping the secrets very fresh. And I mean, this could very well just be a consequence of that. Aside from that, though, I love that they are like keeping Order 66 as like this great Pearl Harbor 9/11-esque event, and that occurred in this universe, and everything is wrapped around it. Everything that occurs in the next couple of years or the next 10 years, even here we are a decade later after Order 66, and it's still the main theme. People are still reeling from it and recovering from it. So that's really cool. I just really like how that direction goes. I do think it's kind of silly that stormtroopers don't shoot things. The explanation canonically has always been that Jedi can use the Force to block these bolts, and it doesn't matter how fast you shoot them because they can use the Force.
That's an easy fix.
An easy fix.
If
You just
if
show
he's
it.
blocking. If he's holding the water, literally an ocean of water.
Yes,
I mean, maybe not literally an ocean, but basically the pressure of an ocean.
millions of
I
tons.
mean, you can handle like at least have him block a few blasters
Yeah.
to make it just believable that like, okay, he doesn't just have the lightsaber, he can
Mhm.
block a few or hold a few Neo status,
Yes.
hold a
Kylo
few
Ren that
blasters.
just-
Yeah, so
I really don't know why they don't show it. I feel like when you're writing a Star Wars show, especially anything televised, you have a duty to show. You have to show what's happening. I can't just assume they're creating a Force bubble and then reaching out with the Force and then concentrating in the Force and then drawing in more power and then wrapping around an object. I can't assume all that. You have to show me this. You have to tell. You can't just tell me either. You can, but that's exposition. It's lazy. You have to show
Right.
the audience. You have to convince them that this is occurring. And like y'all are saying, your writer's brain will make you disconnect from it. Like that's on the show's producers at the end of the day. Like you have a job to make sure that your audience will suspend their disbelief. And if they
Yep.
can't, that's on you.
And that's a reference to your Mandalorian shirt, because the whole writing of Mandalorian is basically showing there's not any dialogue. It's just like small references.
That's
You just see things happening.
absolutely.
That's the beauty of the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I
the
remember
beau-
the scene when he takes off the mask, and
Mhm.
there's no talking, but there's a lot of information telling us that, oh, I'm religious, but you have to break your religious vows if you want to save people. There's people's lives on the line. So like this small 10 seconds would tell you a lot. So that's in reference to what you were saying. Exactly. Show not tell. Anabelle, you want to say something?
I agree with all that. I think it's really interesting how they, especially with something like the Force, because we can't see it. So, I think it's interesting to see what they kind of pick and choose to emphasize, especially when it comes to like sensing people. I think it's interesting when we see like, oh, like he's holding the water, or like, oh, like they block shots or anything. But the sensing people, I feel like so far, what was it, episode 3 maybe? When, they show him sensing Anakin and sensing that things are wrong, and we'll get to episode 5 later, but there's more of that. So I think if they just expanded that and put that same amount of energy into other aspects of it, so we constantly see how the Force is like impacting his
Mhm.
life and how he uses it constantly to, interact with the world, I just think it would be so much more interesting, and it would give us a lot more insight to him and to all the Jedi.
Eddie?
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. I also feel like in a weird way, maybe it's just this episode, and maybe a little bit of the next, which I won't get into, but I feel like there needs to be a little bit more life in the Star Wars that we're seeing in terms of like background. Now I'm not talking about like the stormtroopers and all that, but I sometimes feel like they forgot to add in like, hey, this is an ocean and there's animals around, and just kind of that, like if you look at the prequels, there's always
Yes.
life around, right? There's always a lot going on. There's a bustling city. There's all that stuff, and then this one is
Yes.
just like it seemed very lonely. um, and I get it. Sometimes there's budgetary constraints or whatever, and that's fair. But sometimes it can be, and this is maybe a little bit nitpicky because I think the casual audience doesn't really maybe look out for that, or maybe they subconsciously do, but they don't know what's wrong if they feel like, oh, something's off or whatever. But I feel like there needs to be a little bit more texture to the world that we're in, because it's already a very kind of a darkish series with some silly things in it, but I yeah, no, it's just something that I was noticing lately, especially after this next episode, which I won't get into, but it's a great episode, but the nitpicky stuff. So, but anyway, yeah. So, I don't know if I have anything else to say about episode 4. Other than that, my memories being on that set was pretty damn cool. The reflective floors that you saw, in the Imperial base or whatever, that was such a difficult thing to deal with in motion
Oh yeah.
capture, and also for post, because there was something called double reflections that were happening with the practical stuff that was on set and then the CG stuff. It was really really interesting. I can't really explain it. Oh yeah, and then this interrogation room. By the way, I also thank you for bringing that up, because I also didn't really fully believe that conversation between Leia and Reba.
Yes, please. I want to talk about it right now. We can go ahead.
No, that was it. That was it. It's it just felt a little bit like Leia's performance. Like Leia's performance, I liked. I mean, it wasn't the best, but like again, I need to be clear. Directing children, it is nearly impossible to get right.
But in the end, also, there's nothing much you can do if the script is bad as an
Exactly.
actor. As an actor,
Exactly.
like no, I felt Reba was trying to. I felt her trying to come up with something out of this dialogue with Leia, but it didn't make sense. The dialogue itself didn't make sense. So I
Yeah.
kind of was seeing that. Yeah, there's nothing
I
much you
think,
can do as an actor.
and I need to reiterate, Moses Ingram is a brilliant actress, so it was very
Yes, yes.
surprising to see some of the scenes, at least personally, that didn't work for me, but but yeah, so that was just one scene that kind of threw me off a little bit. Maybe it was a dialogue choice, or how we got to where we were. I wasn't sure what it was, but I just remember I was like, oh, I don't really believe this conversation that's happening, and So yeah.
So Mike, how did you like feel if you after you hear everything we say, why do you still like episode 4?
I like the callback to Cal Castus a little bit ago. From the Fallen Order video game, he actually did the same thing. They actually cracked the glass at the Inquisitor base, but instead of Obi-Wan holding the glass, it was actually Darth Vader holding the glass. Spoiler alert! But the game's been out for a few years, so
That's right. That's
you'll
right.
be fine.
I forgot about that.
That was sick. So nice watching that happen and seeing Obi-Wan do it. I was like, okay, so like it's fair for you to assume Obi-Wan's power level is somewhere in the ballpark of Vader's, even if you know factually, objectively that he's not in the same level. It's still cool to see how powerful he is. I agree completely. I think there needs to be far more Force explanation and exposure. In my opinion, I feel like people don't understand the Force because people in the Star Wars universe themselves barely understand the Force. But that's like a paper I wrote in college, so we don't need to go over that unless we want to. I think episode 4 is cool for me, really only because it's so short. Like it is 30 minutes. So like they really didn't give you the full 45-hour-long episode they could have. I think they had I see what you're saying about how it was like almost like filler, like how it's like the weakest episode. That's fair. Like it is kind of the weakest episode in that it's a connection between the two. So I don't like dislike it. I wouldn't say I hate it or anything. I don't even know if I feel like it's filler because there's only 6 episodes. Can you even have filler? Like if it moves the plot forward, it's not filler. That's like anime rules 101. Like anime will not move forward. You will sit still for a season in some anime and you will not move. And you will be like, I guess we're on this island until you get your powers back. I don't know what we're doing for 30 episodes Naruto.
Dragon Ball Z is the most notorious one for that.
Yes.
for me, it just felt like they ran out of time. Just they didn't give it enough attention as much as like Mando took or like Boba Fett took. So I don't know, Eddie, like how much was the whole project? How long was it? Should I say like just production, not screenwriting and post? How long was
production was long. Months wise, I think we started shooting. So I started in January, but we didn't start actually shooting until like about April. And I think we shot all the way. We shot all the way until I want to say the end of August, beginning of September.
Oh wow!
Jeez.
Yeah, but you have to understand that there was a lot of like we still did on location stuff, and you know there were also prep days that we had to do, and so it was long. It was really long, and we also did a couple of reshoots, you know, that we had to do, or pickups, I should say, but I won't speak to that. But no, yeah, it was a long it was a long production. It was very memorable. That's you know, that's the first thing that comes
So
to
I
mind.
assume the issue would be like they didn't give enough attention for screenwriting, not that they.
It's, you know, I was surprised. Because I met with the writer's assistant slash or showrunner's assistant or writer's assistant slash I think assistant script coordinator. I can't remember, but I met with her a few times, and she sang the praises, obviously, of like of Joby and, you know, stuff like that. So it's just it was just I was personally surprised to hear that there was no writer's room, you know. So she was really assisting Joby and I think the script coordinator Chris, if I remember correctly, but it was just I don't know, it was a very it was odd. It was a little odd. Now, I think The Mandalorian didn't also have a writer's room, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Jon Favreau just basically wrote everything.
Literally.
Yeah, but that's a little bit different, you know, when you think about it. You know, there's some they understand the DNA, you know, the full DNA of Star Wars and stuff like that, and so not to say that Joby doesn't. I mean, I have no idea what his preparation was or anything like that, or if he's, you know, was very invested in the Star Wars universe. But I think it kind of shows that sometimes there's a little bit of a, you know, some mishaps in the writing, and maybe having a writer's room would help with like as a support system to make you look better too, and to, you know, to bounce off of ideas, you know, that are from people who would clearly be Star Wars fans or at least know story. You know, I'm very much a proponent of collaboration, no matter how good you are. You know, because idea could be very, very, very useful. And you know, even if most of the credit will go to you, I mean, it's onus on you to give credit to them for helping you. So,
Yep.
but yeah, that's a different discussion.
Yeah, it is. Anybody want to
yeah, I
add
think-
anything?
I didn't care about Wade. I don't know why they were like, Wade, no. I was like, who? Like,
I didn't know who it was.
pilot number 2. I don't know who that
Yeah.
guy is. It was kind of funny that she just whipped those up there like that. I was like, that was
Yeah.
cool. I'm glad she did that. Like, because I hate when they just get away. I'm like, stop.
He
bro.
also
Like, this is
stayed
the
for
Force.
so long.
I don't know why
Like
he landed.
the other ship was so far away, and he was just sitting there. I was
Yeah.
like, dude,
He shouldn't have
let's
landed.
go.
He should, yeah, he should have not the flying in scene, the actual assault on the hangar itself was kind of cool. Like,
Okay,
those
but
two
how did they turn
T-40s, like,
around?
oh, those things are nimble. Those are the ones they use in on.
Really?
Yeah, those things are crazy. They
Okay,
use those to
okay.
like tie up the Imperial walkers. It's
They
nuts.
came in, and I was like, where are they gonna go?
They're
Crash
literally
into the
they're literally
building?
gonna go like they're like, here's like a wall. They're gonna be like, whoop, and just back off. You're gonna be like, how'd they do that? 0-point turns. They're just killing it. The assault on the hangar was cool. I'm glad they did wipe that person out. I hate watching ships escape from Force users because I'm like, that's not how the Force works, partner. Like, so episode 5.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Don't worry.
Let me share sound. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't believe Vader at all. I didn't believe Vader a single second.
About what?
He's so back and forth. It kills
Right
me.
here. First of
Oh,
all,
right
that's
here.
first and foremost, that's the fastest you've ever seen Darth Vader move live action on screen. So like already a nightmare. Look at these, they're like, oh no.
You mean you didn't believe him when?
Oh, when he was like, oh no, you're good. Like, I'm not mad.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Go on, Reva, you're good. I don't hold grudges. I'm not vindictive. I'm not petty. It's fine. They got away. I'm not mad. It's cool.
Tell me he wouldn't have like killed her right then and there.
On the spot. If
I
it
mean,
wasn't,
immediately walked in, and
Oh,
she
yeah.
would have been gone.
he could have just twisted her in half and then be like, all
Yep.
right, well, who's
Next.
now who's in trouble? It's interesting to see what they do with Vader because he's one of those characters that you don't have a lot of live action screen time with. And again, people like I'm telling you, a lot of people don't view Anakin and Darth Vader as like the same person, but like they are. Anakin is gone. Like, this is a dead person. Vader's now here. Like, it's interesting to see what they'll do with him as live Vader because like he's a bad person. He's a bad guy. He is the villain. He's the big bad in the show, literally. Like, probably not gonna do friendly things. And so when he is just wreaking havoc, all of episodes 3, 4, and 5, you're like, who's gonna stop him? Like, what can you do? He's just on screen, he's just doing things, and no one can do anything
Yeah.
about it. It's actually very frightening. It feels good. The Fallen Order, actually, the video game, I'm going to reference that again. Actually, they do the same thing. You play as this character, and throughout the game, you progress and you get more powers. But your main antagonist, this other Inquisitor, you like rival her eventually. But like when it comes time for Darth Vader, and again, spoiler alert, like towards the end of the game, Darth Vader makes an appearance, and you just are powerless. You have no
Yeah.
strength. You're nothing. You're like trying to like lift the door, and Darth Vader's like, whoa, and just takes the whole wall off, and you're like, oh. And it's just such a clear difference in power level. I think they're clearly doing it, but you have to be careful because then you make him like, oh, he's on screen, so now what's the tension? There's no challenge. Like, if it's a guaranteed loss, the tension's kind of out the window.
All right. I guess that's it for episode 4. So thank you everyone for being with us, and we'll see you in episode 5.